There's Life Prepper here, and this is part two of How Horrible Will It Be for Non-Preppers? And he made this huge, this rather long list. The NPs is for non-preppers, as he said. And the first one is the non-prepper has to realize right off the bat that 9/11 and other emergency calls in will be met with silence or some recording telling the caller not to panic. 911, excuse me. The non-preppers that has no reliable self-defense, that can't stop an attacker, will not get help from public service, and will become a victim of rape, assault, torture, or murder. The non-prepper that has no food will either have to find food or be ready to beg for food, or worse, like sacrificing their bodies or other horrible acts or things to get a bite of food. Go into slavery, prostitution, whatever it is. They're going to do whatever they got to do to survive. The MPs will have to go through the worst, most radical conditions of garbage to just maybe find what they should have stored up. The MPs will go through panic and near, if not total, psychotic looking for any water source right before their bodies begin shutting down during advanced stages of dehydration. And that's going to happen to a lot of them because they, didn't have no water stored up. The MPs will go through unbearable trauma when their children and other people around them are crying, screaming, and suffering with intense hunger pains in their stomach. And the thing is, there could be food all around them, growing around them, and they wouldn't even know that there was food there to feed their families and their friends and stuff. The MPs will have disease and pathogens everywhere, not only because they have no trash disposable means, but because they haven't prepared how to deal with trash and waste. The MPs will have to live in very primitive conditions after things around them disintegrate rapidly because they have neglected putting away anything to make life more bearable. The MPs and those around them will likely develop all sorts of infective skin rashes from the lack of insight of storing up toilet paper. Imagine the smell for a moment. You can use leaves to wipe your butt. The truth is, back in the old days, why they called the left hand the dirty hand was people used their left hand to wipe their buttocks with before toilet paper was a thing. The right hand was considered the clean hand. That was the hand they wrote with and stuff. The left hand was considered the unclean hand because that was the hand they used to wipe their buttocks with. I know it sounds gross, but that's what they did. The MPs will have to handle biting insects and other vermin that will collect amongst the filth that will pile up. No pest control stored up along with no other supplies. The MP will have no way of treating sickness, certain to follow SHTF events, no first aid, and likely no training or knowledge about how to treat the ill on top of this. That's why it's important, to learn about stuff on your land, because if you cannot get to the stores, you need to learn about your natural antibiotics, your natural herbs and stuff around you. You need to learn 10 plants. That's what I tell people. You need to learn 10 plants to recognize. That 10 plants can make a big difference in saving your life. I'm not saying it'll save it, but it will make a big difference and give you that fighting chance that you wouldn't have. Okay, then MPs will have sick and dying people around them because of not being able to treat minor injuries, didn't even stock up on disinfectants, unsanitary conditions leads to infection. The MPs and others around them will experience much grief as they watch helplessly as their family members literally die of starvation right in front of their eyes. And sad truth, that's going to happen. So many people are so codependent on stores. These people that's doing the raw food diet, I was reading up on it some. and they count on going and getting fresh food every day. These basic diets, they count on getting fresh food every day. And if they're not able to get fresh food every day, what are they going to do? They're either going to eat what they can find or they're going to starve to death. Just simple as that. The MPs and others around them will experience much. Okay, won't believe how desperate hunger gives them, and those that mean everything to them to try to eat food that tastes so bad it gags them and comes back up. You're going to eat rotten meat to survive, basically. The MPs will likely have families and friends around them that have also not prepared committing suicide because they can't take it any longer, and that's going to happen. Like the crash of 1929. The MPs will witness some of those people around them lose any sense of civilized humanity in them and behave like wild animals after some time from lack of necessities. It's basically going to regress back into a primitive state. That can happen. It probably will happen. The MPs and family members, maybe friends also, will at some point end up barbecuing or eating raw the family dog, cat, bird, any pet dear to everyone for food. And that's happened in the past too. The MPs and family members made friends also, will likely get into physical fights with other family members over any scraps of food available as rations, though are lost to wanton hunger. They're not going to ration their food. They're going to try to take the food from the weak. The strong is going to take the food from weak, just how it is. MPs, as many other MPs, will eventually go out of any safety of their home looking for food or water, become disoriented and lost, and die a hard death somewhere. They'll get lost, they'll starve to death, dehydrate, whatever. They can become victims of others who are in search of food. You can become victims to animals who are hungry and wants to eat you. Like I say, the zoos and stuff, the animals are going to get out. Many of them's going to get out. They're looking for food. You're going to come across many hungry animals. And then it says the MPs that is lucky enough to find some government help will likely have to almost sell their soul, probably all their freedom, to get tiny rations, just enough to keep them alive. And that can happen too. Possibility. The MPs will see widespread violence and barbarism that will shock them to the core and will wish that they had purchased some form of firearms and stocked up on ammunition. The MPs better get used to attempting to explain to children and other adults why they wasted all that money on junk and didn't buy any emergency food and other supplies. Well, that's going to go for a lot of people. And they go out and buy that video game instead of buy some supplies. That's just how it is. The MPs, no matter how positive they are, will drop quickly into depression and lose willpower as having nothing to hold on to does this, along with the lack of any nutrition. As you begin to slowly starve and your body begins to waste away, your brain just the same way. It's getting deprived of nutrition stuff. You're just not going to be that person. You're going to start getting really lost into that area. The MPs will feel the worst guilt imaginable as they hear their family moaning in anguish from lack of anything to eat, knowing they could have done something to prepare. And hearing your family dying and starving to death and crying from it, it's not a comforting thought. It's not at all. The MPs is totally helpless that after HTF happens, will have to rely totally on charity of those prepared to live. They will take all sorts of desperate measures likely to get them shot. They'll attempt to eat hazardous foods like an animal trapped in a house will do and get sick and suffer much before dying. The MPOs will likely die ugly and hard as they lived, unprepared for anything. And there will be those that will make it. Not all of them will suffer. Some of them will have the sense. Some of them have some sense about them. They'll remember what they grew up around. If they grew up with family that did the farm and all this other stuff, they stand a fighting chance because they may remember and retain some of the memories. Some of them may have enough sense to go to the library and get books and start reading on things and figuring out things. If we were to, use one single word to describe the torment that someone who chooses not to prepare will go through after true, what has happened is preventable. Uh, Almost every single person, even a poor, very poor person, has the capability to put away emergency food and supplies. Even homeless people has stashes of something just in case things become so bad that the normal handouts and throwaway items dry up. Many people with good sources of income don't even have an extra can of food or any water put away at all. This is stupidity beyond words. You know, things can go bad for preppers just as easily as non-preppers in many situations. Uh, something could happen in a prepper situation. You could be 1,000 miles away from your stuff. Knowledge, knowing how to survive, is going to give you that benefit that is not going to give others. But when your number's up, your number's up. It don't matter how well prepared or how well you're not prepared. But what's going to happen is, and it's sad to say, is that many of these people, like I said, will die in a matter of months due to starvation and stuff, due to they've never lived any other way but that way. They do not know how to live. They don't know how to collect rainwater. Basically, they don't know how to filter it. They don't know how to uh, use what's around them for food. I've heard of cases where people were so hungry they was eating the paint off the walls and got lead poisoning from it years ago because they was eating it during the time they were just starved. You do what you do to survive. It's not easy. I mean, it's not going to be easy anyway, whether you're a prepper or not. Uh, Being a prepper, you boost your odds up a little bit. Being a non-prepper, you better just pray, that you're a survivor. That somehow or another something comes your way and you'll make it. You'll buy some food somehow, some way. It's a hang if you do it, a hang if you don't on it. So, like I say, you can go there to this here and read up on it. Read the full article. Like I said, I didn't read all of it, just read some of it. Do your own research. Do what you think, on some of this here. It's it's a lot to think about. But even just basic prep, and even if somebody had put up some water and some food and supplies and things that was needed, they was giving their family a chance. They're giving themselves a chance that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So this is Live Prepper here. I want you to be safe, be happy. Bless you all.